Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Geospatial Intelligence for Your Global Mining Operations. My name is Dubrina, and I'm a Product Marketing Manager at UP42. I will be your host today. Before we get started, I just want to show you how you can use the webinar platform. There is a dedicated questions tab that you can use to post your questions. Please do so because we will have a live Q&A session at the end. And there is also a window where you can also interact with us and let us know if you're facing any technical difficulties. Now, let me introduce our speakers. We have Janie Bessler joining us today from Vantor. She's a sales engineering manager. And we also have Alex Bishop, a pre-sales engineer at UP42. What you can expect to hear from them today, Janie will talk about Vantor's geospatial intelligence and how the data applies to different mining use cases. And Alex will do an UP42 platform demo and tell you a little bit more about how you can use Vantor's data and how you can access it through the UP42 platform. As mentioned, we have 15 minutes of dedicated Q&A session, so stay with us until the end. And with that, Janie, over to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dubrina, for the introduction. On behalf of Vantor, I'd like to thank you and your support for this partnership. Good morning, everyone. I'm Janie Bessler, and I lead the sales engineering team here at Vantor for our enterprise business. I'm so glad to have so many people attending today. I'll initially give just a brief overview of Vantor, as it's important for everyone to know about our company's rich history and capabilities. We will also then go kind of into use cases and how data from Vantor can be applicable in the mining market. So Vantor has always been at the forefront of innovation. We launched the first high-resolution commercial satellite, ICONOS 1, in 1999 through when we were space imaging. With the launch of Worldview 3 in 2014 under Digital Globe, we were the first to release 30-centimeter native resolution commercially as well. So in 2020, Maxar fully acquired Vricon, and we were the first to map the globe in 3D. This year, Maxar launched all 6 Worldview Legion satellites and was the first to provide 15 daily revisits of the same location. Now, as Vantor, we have the capacity to capture in high detail at the necessary cadence to fulfill near real-time monitoring across every site. So with that foundation of innovation and really high quality data, we're now supercharging that high detail imagery with AI to unlock the future of geospatial insights. Vantor imagery-based solutions help virtually every group and phase of operations within a mining company, including land use assessments, regulatory approvals, monitoring, and recovery and reclamation. Whether you're determining location of existing infrastructure, such as roads and railway, plus accessibility to operational sites, or distribution of equipment and personnel to remote locations, under exploration and navigation, to identifying subsurface geology, which correlates to mineralogy or geophysics. Also around feasibility studies where you're determining the best development approach, considering all aspects of the surrounding location, to everything from resource calculations in determining how much of a given ore is present or has been removed. We can also help during in determining how terrain interacts with proposed development, analyzing cut or fill scenarios from the original topography. And finally, in the reclamation management, in planning and monitoring reclamation progress, as well as managing surface water plans, wetland plans, and other aspects of an EIS. So let's take a deeper look at how valuable satellite imagery really can be in the mining sector. It all starts with our imaging satellite constellation, which is the most capable on orbit. So we own and operate 10 satellites, which have, are industry leading in accuracy, coverage, latency, and true colors, not to mention spectral reflectance. So at 5 meters CE9D, again, meaning no pixel is further away from 5 meters from its true world location when processed via AI or a mapping workflow. Accuracy is industry leading of our satellite imaging constellation. We're currently capturing around 7 million square kilometers daily of new imagery, including and the radiometric accuracy, as I mentioned, those true colors are best, meaning the colors in the image match the true color in the real world. Apart from that as well, we also go beyond what's visible to the naked eye, right? Using spectral richness that reveals detail that would otherwise be hidden, including 8 bands on Worldview Legion sensors and 16 bands on Worldview 3, including a SWIR sensor to enable deeper analysis. So next, we're going to go through a couple of visual examples of the applicability of Vantor's portfolio in some areas of the mining sector. So satellite imagery can significantly enhance mining operations by providing detailed insights into terrain and resource management. It enables companies to conduct geological surveys, monitor land use change, and assess environmental impacts. High-resolution imagery, such as that offered by Vantor's satellite constellation, allows for precise mapping of mineral deposits and infrastructure planning, which is, of course, crucial for efficient resource extraction. Additionally, satellite data can assist in monitoring compliance with environmental regulations and managing operational risks by providing real-time updates on site conditions. This technology not only improves decision-making, but also helps in optimizing resource allocation and reducing operational costs in mining activities. So here we have a natural color image from our Worldview 3 sensor from August 1st, 2021 over the Katoka Diamond Mine in Katash, Angola. And here we have it again in the previous year in 2022. So you can really identify any of those differences of growth and expansion and land use changes. And then most recently from June of this year, again, looking at that robust archive that we have. So with more than 250 plus petabytes of historical data in our archive, Vantor's robust imagery library provides high-resolution satellite imagery, plus advanced analytics essential for effective mining monitoring. So by leveraging the extensive archive that we have, organizations can access historical data to analyze land use changes, monitor environmental impacts, and ensure compliance with regulations. The imagery allows for precise tracking of mining operations, including site expansion, resource extraction rates, enabling proactive management of operations as well. Additionally, Vantor's predictive analytics can identify potential risks and operational inefficiencies, facilitating timely decision-making and enhancing safety measures. So this comprehensive approach ensures that mining activities are conducted sustainably while also maximizing operational efficiency. Here we're going to take a look at another example on how mining companies not only leverage Vantor's vast archive, but also, almost more important, they can tap into on-demand tasking to significantly enhance mining operations, again, by providing timely and precise data for decision-making. So new current imagery allows companies to monitor site conditions, assess resource availability, and track environmental impacts all in real time. The high resolution capabilities enable detailed analysis of terrain and resource distribution, while frequent revisit opportunities allow for continuous monitoring of changes over time, which will facilitate proactive management of mining activities and compliance with regulatory requirements. So here's a closer view of part of those previous mine sites. It's the Red Dog mine in a remote area in Alaska. You can really see the detail outlined here from our sensors and imagery. Using 15 centimeter HD satellite imagery can not only significantly enhance mining operations through providing very high resolution visual data for exploration, monitoring, and management. This imagery allows for precise mapping of terrain and assessment of environmental impacts. With Vantor's advanced processing algorithms, users can achieve better than 5 meter CE90 accuracy, enabling detailed feature extraction for roads and buildings, which is crucial for planning access routes and infrastructure development. The availability of very high resolution imagery supports detailed analysis and better decision-making, essential for operational efficiency in the mining sector. So next, we're going to take a look at how shortwave infrared satellite imagery can bring substantial value to mining use cases. So SWIR satellite imagery, or shortwave infrared, is valuable in mining for several reasons. It can effectively penetrate atmospheric interference, allowing for enhanced mineral identification and mapping. SWIR imagery is particularly useful for detecting specific minerals such as clays and carbonates, which are often indicators of valuable resources. Additionally, it aids in monitoring vegetation health and water resources around mining sites, ensuring compliance with environmental regulations. The atmospheric compensation technology, or ACOMP as we call it, offered by Vantor, enhances the accuracy of SWIR data, making it suitable for detailed geological assessments and resource management. By integrating SWIR imagery with other data types, mining operators can optimize exploration strategies and improve decision-making processes. So here we're looking at a SWIR 568 band combination, highlighting the SWIR mineral composite view. And here's that same image in the natural color RGB bands to complement that SWIR bands we were just looking at. Now, why is SWIR so special? Vantor's Worldview 3 satellite collects shortwave infrared imagery in 8 bands, providing data that can be used to exploit diagnostic reflectance signatures and help locate new mineral resources. So Worldview 3 sees deep into the infrared spectrum at higher spatial and spectral resolution than any other commercial imaging satellite, providing rich data for identifying and characterizing man-made and natural materials. This capability is useful, for example, in wildfire response, infrastructure mapping, food security, and many other applications, but it's especially beneficial to the mining and energy industries when leveraged to map surface minerals that indicate what substances lie below. Worldview 3's spectral bands allow for unique mineral identification and chemical measurements. So energy from sunlight is either reflected away from Earth's materials or absorbed into the molecules as heat. And these patterns of reflectance and absorption form distinctive spectral signatures. So based on the mineral content, different rocks absorb specific wavelengths of light and reflect others. So electronic absorptions in the SWIR wavelengths can be used for detecting materials containing anion groups such as aluminum hydroxides, magnesium hydroxides, silicates, carbonates, ammonium, sulfates, and others. So known as indicator minerals, these materials strongly suggest the location of potential mineral ores or subsurface deposits. So that really in turn allows predictive SWIR mineral maps to be created over an area of interest. Mining and energy resource exploration are expensive as well as very risky. So reducing the search area and focusing resources quickly and efficiently is crucial. Significant risk and expense occurs when sending company personnel to perform in-person assessment of mineral exposures, work that's frequently performed in some of the harshest, politically sensitive, and not to mention most remote environments in the world. SWIR data provided by Vantor's ROV3 satellite can narrow the potential exploration sites and improve understanding of those sites before field verification is performed, cutting costs and increasing efficiency in modeling and site visits. So joining a platform ecosystem like UP42 is about breaking down the traditional barriers that have long kept high quality satellite imagery in the hands of only the largest organizations. UP42 changes that equation by making our data accessible to a broader global audience. To see how Vantor and UP42 are partnering, I'll turn it over to Alex for a demo in their platform.
Thanks.
Over to you.
Thank you, Janie. That was really interesting. Thanks for all the insights there, especially about the shortwave infrared. I'm sure a lot of the folks listening in today would be quite interested in that data set. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen also, and we're going to dive into the UP42 platform. So for those of you who aren't familiar with UP42, we are a geospatial developer platform and marketplace for accessing a variety of data sets. Of course, today we'll be focusing in on Vantor and their fantastic products that really cater well to mining applications. But at large, and from a kind of simplified view, you can come to our platform, discover available archives, place tasking orders, essentially everything Janie was mentioning about using and accessing their data sets. So you can do that through UP42. You can come pay for the data sets you need when you need them in a very kind of like scalable manner. If you want to use just a few euros here and there, that's fine. If you want to commit to more volume, that's great too. All right, so UP42 provides access to kind of three main pillars, I would say: catalog for archive searches, finding all available and existing imagery for the collections that you're interested in, tasking, of course, forward-leaning, like Janie was mentioning, acquiring an image with the parameters that make sense to you when you need it, and data management, essentially storage, which is where orders and deliverables are provided to you. So for the fun stuff, how would you go about finding data? Well, we can dive into the catalog. And here, essentially, you're presented with a web map. Things are geographic-based, geometry-based. You can come in here, draw geometries in the map, simple ones, complex ones. You can upload geometries from file. You can save them to a library. I, for instance, have this one in here over that same mine site that Janie was mentioning. And in theory, I can load that and navigate. Let me load that one again. There we go, load geometry. And the delights of live demos, of course, it's not loading. Let's run that again. There we go. So a simple geometry, this one's 50 square kilometers, and you can see on the left what's happening is that the platform is natively running an archive search for us. We provide access to optical SAR and elevation models, so anything Vantor can provide access to, essentially optical here and elevations, would be integrated into here. Today we're interested in Vantor's data sets, so we can focus in on those and also refine our search. We can put in dates, so we perhaps want to see what's been delivered this year with a specific cloud cover that we can refine if we wanted to. So these filters can kind of like efficiently help you discover available archive across different collections that Vantor provides access to. If you were interested in any one of these, of course, you can dive into the full list of available archive, plot the coverage extents, and run a credit cost for ordering this data set. You could view the low resolution preview if you wanted to, and dive into the specific scene information. So, which collection is it from, its resolution, some properties from the provider, incidence angles, and things like that. Something I didn't mention is UP42 is also an API kind of first company. So everything you see here in the UI, you can do through code and, automate or semi-automate processes that make sense to you. One thing I do want to show you is that you pay for the part of the image you need. So in this case, we would be purchasing the intersection of my input geometry and the available scene. But of course, we can kind of go down in size and order something a bit smaller if needed. It really depends on the data sets you need. And that's where our platform is kind of interesting, in that across our different collections, we have this unified standardized behavior where you kind of come in and pay for the data sets that you specifically need and don't have to commit to a monthly subscription and whatnot. Here we can then of course move on with a purchase. So we could select the processing levels that Maxar makes available to us and that makes sense to you. We've tried to kind of make these apparent in terms of geometric and radiometric processing levels, what they are, what bands are delivered, whether it's a single raster file GeoTIFF with 8 bands, or if it's 2 deliveries like a bundle, 1 panchromatic raster, and then 8 bands multispectral separately. All these are also described in our documentation. So if you need to learn more about them, we have a fantastic documentation team who's kind of tried to make this very obvious to our customers. If you wanted to move forward with any one of these, you can toggle one of those boxes there and add an image to your cart. In your cart, you can add an order name. You can add some tags, which are identifiers that will live with this order in 2 ways. And this is really awesome from a project management point of view. These tags can be, of course, identifiers that make sense to you, purchase order, or project name. And they will live one in your credit history. So if you want to go back then and search and find out how much you spent on the specific project, you can filter on this tag in there. And they also live with the deliverable into the storage, the data management. And so you can use this to then find all the data sets that belong to a specific project or a specific workspace under your account. Find all the data sets that have been delivered that match this essentially description. So it helps you filter in there too. You have a summary of the available credits. If you have enough credits, that's great. You can order them. This can be a good space also for, building how many credits you might need for a purchase, and then going to your procurement department saying, hey, we need these funds for ordering data. It's this archive. Here's the list. This is the amount of funds we need. So it's kind of a good tool for that too. Orders can be tracked, of course. So, we have this tracking in different statuses. Some orders can take a couple hours to deliver. Typically, they delivered in a few hours. Some might take up to 24 hours, depending on their size and things like that. There's a native behavior to our platform, which is pretty interesting, especially for larger companies, where we have this somewhat by default enterprise feature where you can toggle between your own workspace, so you yourself as a user, and your entire accounts, right? Everyone within your UP42 account. And here you can start thinking of these in terms of, well, this is the procurement department maybe, or this is the exploration department, or this is the operations department, and different teams are buying different data sets that make sense through their own applications. But, the cool thing here is that you can toggle between these accounts, these workspaces, and go and leverage the purchases that have been made by different parts of the company. At an enterprise level, this is kind of cool and interesting. The next thing I wanted to mention, and as Janie said, tasking. Tasking is an extremely valuable part of our industry, what UP42 tries to make available to customers. archive is good, but you might not always find what you need. Tasking, you're going to plan out the data sets you want. So in this case, Vantor, maybe Vantor 30 centimeter, maybe Vantor Maxar 50 centimeters with a given geometry. And you can come in and define the exact parameters for tasking that you want. So again, we can come in and put an order name and description, set some dates. It could be next month, it could be next week, it could be a repeat tasking if we wanted to. If you need to know, if you have some, specific monitoring at determined intervals, you can select different acquisition modes. So we really try to surface everything that Vantor makes available to us through their API to you as a user, again, in a standard, like, unified manner across all their products. All the descriptions to any of these parameters are available, again, in our documentation. So if you needed to learn more about what makes sense, what primary means, what georectified means, and whatnot, either reach out or look through our documentation, and we really try to surface all of that. Here you can see that just with these given parameters, the order is deemed feasible. So this is really great because we essentially don't need to run a feasibility study. We're giving it enough time. The geometry is 50 square kilometers. If there's a good opportunity, the satellite will be able to capture it in one pass. So it's you can see how quick and easy these can really these orders can be fulfilled these days. Like Janie said, there's 6 worldview legions. There's I forget how many worldview 3 there are, but in any case, at 30 centimeters or 50 centimeters, there's plenty of opportunities to get the data you need. Again, I strongly suggest our customers use these tags to kind of map their orders through the credit reporting and also in the data management space. This is the process for creating an order for tasking, requesting an order. We can submit this. At this point, you wouldn't be charged credits. You're simply submitting a request for an order. We would review these. In this case, no feasibility study, but it creates an order here in your workspace where you can review the parameters. And then if essentially an official quotation would be provided for you to then validate whether you want to move forward with an order or not. Captured images are then provided here. This is the tasking dashboard. It's really nice because our team has kind of like made it simple to see what orders are in what stages. So a feasibility study is ready, a quotation study is ready. And again, there's this capacity to navigate between your own account and the entire workspace. So again, if the operations team is ordering data for you, you can kind of come in here and check and whatnot. And finally, everything is then delivered into the data management space. We're really proud of this space. There's quite a bit to it. We won't address everything. And if you are interested in learning more about UP42, definitely create an account. It's free to do so. Again, you just spend credits on the data. And we can kind of dive into all these a bit more. But as an example here in this space, essentially what we're doing is we're providing you a really nice visual of where all your orders are, right, geographically, but also here in this table. And because we unified the delivery format, we can extract a lot of different fields to use as filtering. So this makes sense when you start having a lot of orders from different components of your account, different teams. But for instance, we can come in and fine tune by an order name. So this is actually the mine site that Jane was showing us. We can dive in here and see from the deliverable, the metadata that corresponds to that scene, some identifiers, IDs, and especially are relevant if you're using code to interact with UP42. But also the image itself, a low resolution version of it, the full resolution, if we wanted to plot it here in the map, and links to download the different raster geotiffs that are made available. Something that's pretty cool, especially for the more advanced users and doctors out there, maybe you would be interested in seeing and knowing the center wavelengths for each band and their full width, half, max values to know, their spread. So this is really cool information that we pull out that, just allows you to be reassured on, okay, what band is which one? And, you can use that to then, I guess, do the interpretations that you would need to do on your own side. Yeah, again, the system is standardized. So whether you're buying optical, SWIR, elevation, everything would be located in here, available for download, available for pushing to your own cloud storage, available for making WMTS streaming solutions that can be published to your own. Well, that's an IT update that needs to run. That's cool. We'll do that later. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different tools here. Again, if you wanted to discover more, we can happily do so later. And again, these fantastic tags to filter on things. With that, I will pass it back to Janie, I think, to talk about the elevation products that they have available for us. So Janie, back to you. I will stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Really insightful. Great to see the platform in action, right? And as I mentioned previously, enabling a wider base of customers to access this type of data, right? That's what the partnership really is about between Vantor and UP42, getting this type of data in the hands of everyday people instead of just the largest companies. So with that, we are going to take a look at the 3D side of Vantor, as it can also, add incredible value and insights into use cases for mining. So we'll spend the remaining time we have touching on, how 3D data from Vantor can be used in these types of use cases. So Vantor's 3D offering, which is called Vivid Terrain, previously known as Precision 3D Terrain, can be utilized in mining operations by providing high-resolution digital elevation models, whether that's DSMs, DTMs, that enhance, site analysis and planning. The 3D surface model, as we're seeing this video go through here, plus, a traditional digital terrain model, all of that data allows for accurate mapping of terrain and topography, which is crucial for precise planning and site analysis. By leveraging the advanced spatial intelligence capabilities of Vivid Terrain, mining companies can optimize resource extraction, improve operational efficiency, and reduce costs associated with ground surveys and assessments. So this technology supports informed decision-making throughout the mining life cycle, all the way from exploration to reclamation. So as I mentioned earlier, Vantor is the first to build out the globe in 3D, with currently over 100 million square kilometers built off the shelf, with more coming every single day. So by leveraging multi-view photogrammetry, the accuracy of Vivid Terrain is enhanced by utilizing multiple images taken from different angles to create a comprehensive 3D model. So this technique allows for the extraction of detailed elevation data as it captures various perspectives of the terrain, reducing occlusion and improving depth perception. So the process involves advanced algorithms, all that analyze overlapping images to generate precise DEMs with vertical and horizontal accuracies that often exceed national mapping standards. So 3D data is essential for seeing beneath the surface, especially in the resource extraction and exploration phases of operation within a mining company. So utilizing, digital terrain models to identify features in morphology like ridges, fissures, domes, and depressions all aid in exploration and mine site analysis. 3D terrain models are also essential for accurate volume calculations during resource extraction. By utilizing DSMs and DTMs, users can analyze changes in terrain over time, allowing for precise assessments of material movement and extraction volumes. So the automated processes used to generate Vantor's 3D models ensure high accuracy, making Vivid Terrain a valuable tool for mining applications, including monitoring site changes and optimizing resource management. So here we're looking at just how complementary the DSM and DTM data are, again, over that mine site, the Katoka Diamond Mine in Angola that we've kind of been highlighting. So in closing, I'll just say that Earth observation data, and specifically a constellation of 10 high-resolution imagery satellites, such as Vantor's, allow mining companies to go from reactive to proactive terrain and resource management, all by providing the detailed data needed for analysis while doing it at scale. So with that, I'd like to thank UP42 for hosting today's webinar, and to everyone online for joining. We'll take the last few minutes that we have here to answer any questions that the audience may have. So thanks again, I really appreciate it. And Dobrina, I'm not sure if you want to moderate those questions as they come in. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's Dobrina.
Yes, Alex, I believe you have a little bit left of your presentation.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Great,
I did
sorry
forget
about
that
that.
I wanted to show some examples of the data, so thanks for reminding me, Dobrina. I'll just go ahead and do that right now. Yeah, no, I wanted to show to everyone out there actually the quality of Worldview 3 in this case. This is the mine that Janie was showing us earlier, and how detailed the imagery really is. You can really use this to do, again, a variety of things, but from, say, an operations point of view, keeping an eye on certain aspects of the mine sites, because these are quite large spaces. You can clearly see, for instance, erosion happening. You can clearly see, vehicles, drilling pads that are, working on certain parts of the mine. The quality of the image is quite impressive, in how crisp and sharp it is. So I certainly invite customers, a staging area here, for instance, around the mine. You can see whether it's more or less well kept, I guess. And again, you can do this whether it's with the visible near infrared data or the shortwave infrared. Here, this is what it looks like in kind of like a false color version of it. It's really cool. I'm no expert in this, and some of you on the call are, but if we simply come here and check out the spectral signature of, say, this body of water here, we have one aspect, but in this one, it's quite different. And so certainly this would mean something to someone who knows more than myself, but as a GIS person, I can at least show you that there's value here. There's different signatures. There's things going on. And from a mapping point of view, we can clearly identify and play around with this to locate different types of materials, along with the vegetation curves too. So it's a really interesting product, and I invite customers to discover it through the platform. This is the shortwave infrared version of it with some band arrangements like Janie mentioned. And again, whether you're focusing in on specific parts of this site, you can really come and do some pretty cool analysis, along with just determining how things have changed over time. For instance, I think this site here is quite impressive, where before it was just kind of a gravel field, I guess, and a lot of material has been added on top over time. So there's some pretty cool aspects to being able to go back in time and checking, hey, how were things before and what are they looking like now, and getting those volume estimates too. And we had a previous webinar where we were looking at the value of elevation data and drawing those profiles on these benches and things like that. So yeah, definitely do some discovery, and we're happy to support our customers through UP42 and along with Vantor, as needed. So yeah, Dobrina, back to you.
Thank you so much, Alex and Janie, for your presentation. Super insightful, and we've received so many questions. I'm really excited to get started. So I remember the first one, and then I'll try to address them as they came in, but I don't promise. The first one, Janie, is for you. From your perspective, what are the biggest financial or even technical bottlenecks which prevent satellite data like this that you have presented from becoming a standard layer in mine feasibility studies?
Yeah, and that is a great question. So thank you so much for that. We hear it all the time, really, right? And I think partnering with companies like UP42 are breaking down those barriers of the financial burdens, even kind of the technical bottlenecks that you mentioned, right? A lot of times what we see is that, data of this value is siloed and not easily accessible, right, to everyday companies and users. So what we're doing, again, in our partnership is really trying to reach a broader audience and have that type of impact at a global scale, right, to get this type of data into everyday users' hands, whether that's a one-off imagery purchase through the platform, or whether that's a monitoring project where you're setting up new tasking to monitor the site, right, that you're working at and determine progress, right? So there's different varying levels of financial commitment depending on your use case, and enabling partners like UP42 to bring that to market faster is a key component of our market strategy here at Vantor. So, but great question. Thanks.
Thank you, Janie. And I see already Alex addressing one of the questions about tasking. So maybe we can go with this one. I believe it's for UP42. For tasking, what's the minimum AOI size, and is there a provision for weather prediction over the AOI required tasking period?
Yeah, I was just about to write in the chat in the Slack thread there. So for tasking, Maxar, it's 50 square kilometers minimum order size. So that's really competitive compared to other providers, having the 50 square kilometers. Some are higher than that from other providers. Weather is weather, of course. If you're able to set a longer tasking period of, say, a month, you might have many more opportunities of having good weather. Some parts of the world are more challenging than others. There are times of years that are better for tasking satellites than others. So, of course, those are operational things that just from acquiring imagery that just can't need to be thought of and understood, right? Just from an expectations point of view. Yes, satellites are really good for acquiring imagery, but they do evolve in space. There's the atmosphere and, of course, all the clouds between the sensor and the site. But with that sensor is always there. And if there is in a moment, a window, an opportunity, especially with so many, sensors in orbit from Vantor, the chances are you'll get a good image. So if you need a good image and you only have one day to do it, it might be challenging. But if you have a few weeks, chances are you can probably get quite a good result there.
Thank you, Alex. And there is another question that has been upvoted also for UP42. So UP42 offers after-sales service if an image delivery has error. So would UP42 offer an after-sales service? Is recapture offered if the image is not acceptable to the client?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our customer success team, our clients have a CSM dedicated to them. If there's issues with the imagery, certainly we have our checks, our quality controls that we try to implement and catch anything that might not be good enough. But if you see there's some issues with the imagery, we advocate for our customers. So we go back to the providers and see if a retask is possible, or if the image is fine, just needs to be reprocessed. Sometimes there can be, nuances there in processing. But if it's a cloud cover thing, for instance, if it's 10% cloud cover and there's 10% clouds, that's still a valid image. So, there's those kind of limitations and expectations also, again, to manage. But again, if there's an obvious issue with an image, we would vouch for you to the provider. And the providers, especially Vantor, are always happy. They want customers to have the best possible data. If it needs to be reprocessed, they will do it. So definitely, good to reach out to us, to your team at UP42 to get support there.
Thank you, Alex. And maybe so you can have a quick break, I believe. Janie, the next one might be for you. Can you show us or tell us how you can use the data for geotechnical and slope stability assessment?
Yeah, so slope stability is a great use case for 3D data, right? By providing, a digital terrain model, you can, and especially throughout time, looking at historical data as well as new data, being able to monitor the progress of how slopes have changed over time can give a lot of insight into how, that slope may or may not be stable in the future based off of angles and, things like that. So a DTM would be super valuable in determining any kind of slope analysis with, contour maps and hill shades to be able to provide that type of information.
And I believe, thank you, Janie. I believe I have another one, quite a long one, about bands for you. So I understand that Worldview 3 provides 8 veneer and I8 SWIR bands. How effective have you found it for mineral indices detection? Do you find a limited number of SWIR bands a constraint? And how do you work around it in mining applications? Quite a long one. Thank you.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, great question. So the 8 veneer and 8 SWIR bands on Worldview 3 have proven to be quite successful, actually, in mineral indice detection, right? You can really outline and manipulate different band combinations to, tell a story of a lot of different of those, anion groups, right? Those indicator minerals that we discussed previously, which really strongly suggest the location of potential mineral ores, right? And subsurface deposits. So using those indicator minerals, to create predictive mineral maps really help in exploration. Taking out a lot of that risk and expense as well of sending in boots on the ground, for example, right? So we've seen a lot of success with using just the 8 bands of SWIR in multiple different kinds of, band combinations to do just that, actually.
Thank you, Janie. And I see some of the questions have been upvoted. So I start with the one that has received 4 votes. So for the 3D DSM DTM, what kind of accuracy would you expect to see from, say, 30 centimeters accuracy? Imagery with proper overlap, this would be in comparison to doing a GNSS stakeout.
Right. So understood. 3D data is really, really challenging to get to be so accurate without ground control points. So that's the beauty of Vivid Terrain. We actually don't require ground control points, which enables us to build and reach an accuracy of 3 meters, SE90, what we call SE90, spherical error 90, all over the globe. Right. And, that can be a real value add in some of these hostile and really remote locations that ground control points aren't readily available. So that's the kind of value that Vivid Terrain really does bring to the table, is a 3 meter spherical error 90 accuracy at a global scale.
Thank you, Janie. And maybe, Alex, a question for you, also quite a popular one, since you do speak to mining companies on a daily basis. How is the mining industry requirements in accuracy and safety for resolution match the resolution provided?
How is the mining industry requirements in accuracy and safety for resolution? Not sure I fully understand the question, but in terms of accuracy, I guess it's going to depend on the interpretation you need to derive from the imagery or the elevation model. Again, if you are doing tasking, you need a very high resolution optical that is fitting the terrain well, from an operations point of view, you can go ahead and put out ground control points, and we can be sure to see those in the image that's going to be tasked and acquired. So that's something we've worked on with customers in the mining industry before, where they've had needs for very high accuracy and precise location on their imagery or their elevation model. And so we will help them plan out the operations and say, okay, now's the time for you to go put your control points in the field. We're going to start tasking it starting, in a couple weeks. And we would review what maybe features in the field are good for like the use case or for like to be used as ground control points. So from safety resolution match, I'm not sure really what is meant. Like remote sensing is conducted from space. These sensors are 500 to 700 kilometers up in orbit. It makes sense that there would be some give and play here, especially around steep terrains, right? So that's to be expected. But again, the more control points you can put out, the better you can then, better reference and maybe even go back and geo-reference, the image that's tasked. Images can be delivered to orthorectified, of course, but if you have your own preference, you have your own standards of accuracies, maybe you don't want to let the provider do the orthorectification for you, and you have a model that you can use over your site to do a better orthorectification. So again, the cool thing with like our industry and a platform like UP42 and providers like Vantor is that you can get to the data set that makes sense to you at the processing levels that make sense to you. So you can, ask us to provide you something you can just throw into a CAD or GIS map and visually inspect it. Or you can get something that's more basic processing levels and do what you need to with the data and get to the accuracies and the safeties that meet your requirements. So I think that's the best way I could answer that question for you. Rodrigo, if you want to reach out again, please feel free to do so. We'd be happy to kind of dive in on that a bit more and better understand what it is you need to get to.
I was going to mention, we have 8 minutes left, still some time for some questions, but the ones that we are not able to answer live during the session, we will follow up with you and provide you with the answers. There was a question about tasking Vantor's data. Would Vantor's portal be given a higher priority than on UP42?
That's a good question. We have access to 2 priority levels for Vantor. We have the standard and the high priority level. So that covers most use cases. So no, essentially you can get the same, high priority levels for tasking through UP42 as if you were to go straight to Vantor's hub portal.
Thank you, Alex. And there was a question about the data being publicly available. I'm not sure if it refers to Janie's or Alex's presentation. So I saw only limited marked spots on the globe. Didn't quite catch the cause of the reception here. Is that where the data is limited to? And again, how will this be of assistance in the exploration prospecting phase of the mining process? I believe, Janie, that's a question for you.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we work with partners like UP42 to make the data more available for licensing the imagery and the 3D data, right? We have global coverage in terms of our 2D capabilities. Again, we are collecting over 7 million square kilometers of imagery every day, right? With 3.5 million square kilometers of that being native 30 centimeter resolution, right? So we definitely have global coverage in terms of 2D data. We are the first to build out the globe in 3D as well, in terms of digital elevation models, right? We are still in the process of completing that, but we are over 100 million square kilometers of the landmass already built out and ready off the shelf. So that, if is of interest to you, either one of those, work with Alex and the UP42 team to be able to determine if we have data readily available over your area of interest.
Thank you so much, Janie. And a quick question again, I see Alex typing. I know it's very quick to answer. What are the external requirements to get SWIR imagery from UP42? Any additional agreement needed?
Yeah, no, it's not a Vantor product, but I did want to address it real quick because it's mining. SWIR is a great option in conjunction to optical. No, the main difference is that it's price per scene, not price per square kilometer, but you can access SWIR data through our platform in the catalog and tasking. Other requirements, you would need to have the softwares to process it, but or make use of it. But other than that, it's available through the platform.
And a lot of questions around use cases. So there is another one. Would you have any use cases for coal pile in US as well? Again, could be for both. Maybe, Janie, I see you nodding.
Yeah, so coal would be, specific, probably deposits on the surface as well, right? Like you by all means, search for and check out spectral reflectance of iron oxides in turbid water, for example, indicating an active coal mine, for example. You definitely can use the SWIR bands to do that, and have, even to map, any kind of like emissions from coal mines, such as like methane emissions, which is a, significant greenhouse gas that is a byproduct of a coal mine as well. So there's a lot of use cases within that question, honestly. But yes, absolutely, coal mines are a applicable area in which SWIR data can, and even just natural color imagery can also help with. And if you're interested in learning more, again, reach out to the team and we'd love to talk more about your specific use case.
And I believe we have time for just one more question. And Janie, I believe this one is also for you from Jason. An impressive list of capabilities. My question is more around how many system users would you need to train to leverage even half of them? And the rest of the questions, as mentioned, we'll follow up with everyone directly.
Yeah, great question, right? And I think this kind of goes back to our discussion earlier around accessibility, right? Having the team that knows how to utilize and manipulate and work with the data is going to be key. Although SWIR, shortwave infrared bands, for example, are really technical and it's just so insightful. It actually really only takes a GIS team to be able to work with the data. So if you have a GIS team that's currently, working at your company, work with them to see what level of expertise they have in terms of being able to manipulate and work with different band combinations to do this type of work. It's true, there would be a level of, expertise that you would need to be able to work with a GIS software and a platform to do these types of band combinations. But in reality, for any GIS user or data analyst, right, it's a quite novice task, which really can unlock so many insights. So that's the beauty of it, right? 3D data is a whole nother world, right? Of course, however, there are great platforms out there as well. Envy, for example, Global Mapper, all of these different, softwares that can help leverage and unlock the power behind 3D data as well, and the multispectral data. So, the world is your oyster as long as you put your own, incentives in there. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's quite a great ending of our webinar. The world is your oyster. So yeah, with that, Janie, Alex, I want to thank you so much for your great presentations, the energy that you put into answering all the questions we received. Also, thank you to all of our participants and for being so active today with your questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll follow up with the recording and answer the remaining questions. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're joining us from. And see you soon. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bye-bye.